Hi, everyone. It's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Brian Schwalb. Welcome.
Hi, Krylios. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for being here. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Very well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here once again. And let's get this started with having you introduce yourself to our viewers and just letting us know a little bit about your background and experience.
Thank you. Well, welcome to everybody at home watching on your devices or your computers. I'm Brian Schwalb. I'm a Democrat. I'm running for Attorney General to become the next independently elected Attorney General here in the District of Columbia. I was born at Washington Hospital Center. I've lived here with my wife for the past 30 years. I came back to Washington, D.C. to join the Justice Department. We raised three beautiful daughters in our home. They're 24, 23, and 19, almost fully grown, and I'm amazingly proud of each of them. I've been actively engaged in the practice of law since I moved back to Washington, D.C., first at the Justice Department and then in private practice. I've represented clients in all different kinds of matters and disputes. I've tried billion-dollar disputes, and I've tried death penalty cases. I've represented victims of fraud and victims of police excessive force and unconstitutional force. I have really enjoyed and loved the practice of law. I've also been involved in leading our law firm. I've served as our firm vice chairman, as well as the partner in charge of our DC office, which is our largest office, 325 lawyers and more than 600 legal professionals. I've also been actively engaged in our community in organizations that are doing really important work, like the Council for Court Excellence, the Abramson Foundation, the Holocaust Museum, and actively involved with the Washington Interfaith Network in my synagogue. So that's a little bit about me, Krylios.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's great to have you here to have our viewers get to know you a lot. So I've got to ask, what made you want to throw your hat in the ring for this particular position?
It's a great question. I love our city. It's been a wonderful, wonderful place for me to live, to work, to raise a family. There's so much happening in our city to be proud of. As I've worked my way around the city talking to people, almost everybody I talk to is proud to be a Washingtonian. Great culture, great restaurants, nightlife, important work being done. People are proud of Washington. We don't have a problem attracting great talent to our city or resources to our city. We are abundant in resources, but what we don't do well is distribute those resources equitably and fairly to everybody who lives here. The people of Washington deserve somebody to fight for them, to advocate for them, to stand up for them. And that's what the Attorney General does. And that's what I want to do. I want to take what I'm good at, what I've spent my life and my passion doing, and putting it to that, to a city I love, to the people who deserve somebody to fight for them. So when Karl Racine decided he wasn't going to run again for Attorney General, I decided this was an opportunity for me to take what I love doing, what I'm good at, and put it in service of the city I love and the people who live here, my neighbors and fellow residents here.
That is so important. That's so important. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers are wondering, what are some of these issues that, you would like to get on top of if you were elected to the role of Attorney General?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, I think the key challenge for our city is the gap between income and equity and opportunity that some in our city have, but not everybody. That is the brokenness that our city experiences that we all are called upon to repair, to do our work repairing that brokenness. My focus is going to be on narrowing that gap between the equity and income and opportunities that some but not everybody has. And the law is uniquely positioned to do that. I have three areas that I think are really principally important to me. I want to stand up for people who are being taken advantage of. That's workers who have employers taking money from them, from their hard-earned pay, either by not paying them the full benefit or overtime, or misclassifying them as independent contractors. I want to stand up for people in their homes whose landlords are not providing safe, warm, habitable places to live in exchange for the rent that's being paid. I want to stand up for people who are taken advantage of by predatory lenders, online lenders, and payday lenders and others who take advantage, and people who are running consumer frauds and scams. Taking advantage of people is unacceptable, and the law is here to protect people against that. That's number one thing I want to do. Number two is I want to stand up for our kids. As you know, Krylios, the Attorney General's office is responsible for our juvenile justice in the city. And I think it's really important that we remember that kids are developing, their brains are developing, and kids make mistakes. It's oftentimes important that we try to keep our kids away from the criminal justice system and by all means, getting them back on track. Now, to be sure, when kids engage in behavior, particularly repeat offenders that's dangerous, we have to make sure they're held accountable, that we keep our community safe. But our whole focus of our juvenile justice system is on rehabilitation and making sure we keep our kids on a path to success and promise. We have to invest in them. They are the future of our city. Finally, I want to stand up against hate and discrimination. We have all seen a rise in white supremacy, in hate, and it raises itself in all kinds of ugly forms, whether it's homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. We all have an obligation to use our voices and our law to stand against discrimination and hate, and that's going to be one of my priorities as Attorney General.
Thank you for that. I'm sure our viewers appreciated hearing all that. Next question I'll ask you actually is, what makes you the best choice for DC Attorney General?
Well, obviously that is the question that our voters are going to have to wrestle with. And I think there are really three reasons that I think I'm the best candidate. One, experience matters. I spent the last 30 years in the active engagement of the practice of law, handling cases, trying cases, resolving very difficult matters, making decisions in high-stake matters, being in court, establishing the reputation and integrity with decision makers, agencies, and judges. That matters. The Attorney General is the chief law officer of our city, and it requires a real lawyer with real experience in that role. Second, I think that leadership matters. The Office of Attorney General has incredibly talented lawyers and legal professionals. It's a team made up of highly motivated, talented individuals, many of whom could have jobs anywhere in the city, working for a lot more money than they get paid at the Attorney General's office. Having a leader that understands how to recruit and train and promote and maintain the excellence of an office is something that requires somebody who has had experience leading lawyers like I have. Finally, I think independence matters. Krylios, you probably can tell from this interview, I am a first-time candidate. I am not a politician. I'm not a polished political professional. I'm an outsider. I'm somebody coming in with a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of disciplines, who's going to be able to maintain the independence of the office. This is a very important office for all of us who live in DC because it's independently elected and it's responsive directly to the people. I'm going to bring that sense of independence. Sometimes making decisions is not always popular, but you have to try to make the right decisions to put right before necessary being popular. And that's going to be part of what I bring to the job. So it's experience, it's leadership, experience being a leader, experience being a lawyer, and being independent in the role.
Thanks for sharing that, Brian. Thank you. When does voting begin?
So early voting this year will start because the city will be mailing ballots out to all registered Democrats, probably at the end of May. And that will start, if you're a registered Democrat, you have the expectation you'll be receiving a ballot in the mail. If you're not registered yet, it's important to register to vote. You have to register to vote by May 31st. And then the ballots for the primary will be open on June 21st.
Certainly. And we want to remind our viewers that if you want to check your voter status, if you want to register to vote, you can go to HeadCount.org. Once again, to check your status, pledge to vote, and register to vote, you can go to HeadCount.org. Before I let you go, Brian, how can people, volunteer and to your campaign, donate their time? How can they go ahead and do that?
Well, thank you so much for asking that, Krylios. We've got a lot of people who are getting excited about the campaign. The easiest thing for everybody to do is to go to our website. It's www.brian4dc, F-O-R-D-C, BRIANFORDC.com. You can find everything about getting involved as a volunteer, getting engaged with us on the website. We're also on social media. And there's lots of ways to follow us and to get engaged, and I hope you'll come out and join us.
Awesome, awesome. To those who are watching, those links will be in the description below, so you can go ahead and check them out right now. Brian, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure getting to talk with you, and I wish you best of luck on your campaign.
Thank you, Krylios. Right back at you. See you soon.
Thank you so much. To those watching, please follow Team Racine Productions on all forms of social media at Team Racine. Like, comment, and subscribe. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.